signing with WWE, 2006, ECW, you know, as over 5 years later, or 6 years later, as it was then, the WWE relaunches it, tries to relaunch it, I should say. What are your memories of getting that call, being a part of, you know, the relaunch, ECW 2.0, I know a lot of people call it.
Yeah, well, I call it Disney-fied ECW.
Disney-fied.
Disney-fied. Yeah. Dreamer calls me one day and says, Vince wants to hire you. That was his words. And I went, shut up. Because this one, Vince was all about bodybuilders and, you know, big guys and stuff like that. He didn't want somebody like me. He goes, no, seriously. He said, we're bringing ECW back. He's going to hire some of the originals. He wants you. You and I are going to pick our feud back up. It's going to be like it was when it closed. You're going to be one of my top heels. And I went, so I don't have to go to Ohio Valley? No. And I forgot what my other question was for you asked me. But he signed. We signed a lot of the originals. Even the guys like me and Danny Doran signed for a very, very low amount, to the point where I was losing money being on the road with them.
So like your trans wasn't covered?
Trans wasn't covered. I take that back. The flights were. Hotels, cars, food, none of that was covered. And then you're on the road, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, whatever it was. Because I think we'd fly out on Friday, work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, do Raw, SmackDown, Monday, Tuesday, fly home Wednesday, and then be home half a day Wednesday, Thursday, and fly back out Friday. So I was actually losing money, and because the money we got paid for was crap. So I remember working the arena the very first show that they did. I worked Sabu, and Vince took it over after that. Hated to be there. Hated it. Francine and I have told the story before. We would sneak out, and when we found out we weren't on tapings or anything like that. And I remember Paul coming up to me one day at one of the tapings and said, Vince wants to change your name. I said, what? He goes, yeah. He says he wants to get away from you being C.W. Anderson. I said, why? Well, you know, we got CM Punk, and he's kind of, you know, looking and pushing him, and he thinks people might get y'all confused. And I went, I can see that. You know, I wear a singlet, and I'm bald. Punk's tattooed up and got hair. He's
long
thin.
hair. Yeah.
He's thin, and I'm heavy. But yeah, I can see where people could get us confused. Well, it's not only that. It's people might think you're working for the CW network.
What?
I said, Paul, really? I said, I've been CW since 1993. I said, one of my friends that worked for TV Guide said one of the very first photos they ever did with TV Guide is 2 ace celebrities doing this and this to promote the CW network. I'm the one that came up with this. And I said, this is so bullshit. I said, just, you know what? I don't care. Just as long as I can keep my initials, keep this, and keep Anderson, I don't care. I said, I don't want to be here. Just do whatever. And that's when they came up with that stupid name, Christopher W. Anderson.
And that's the card. That's the W card I see, the international card. Christopher W. Anderson.
It was
expensive card to get, by the way.
I'm see why. But it was the dumbest name. I hated being there. A lot of us hated it. We weren't used right. After Vince took it over, he put the guys in it he wanted. It was never ECW. It was never like it was supposed to be, or like it was going to be. He should have had us doing smaller venues, let us be our own entity, and it had been a lot better. But he couldn't keep his hands off of it because he didn't want people thinking, because he at one time thought he was the reason people started chanting ECW.
Vince thought he was?
Yeah, he came up with that. That was one of the things I had heard. So the day Johnny Ace called to release me was January 17th. The secretary got on the phone. CW, Johnny Ace wants to speak to you. Do you have a minute? I went, yep. So he said, CW, I think we're just going to have to let you go, man. I went, sweet, thank you. And it kind of took away, yeah, you know, maybe down the road we can bring you back. I went, no thanks. No thanks. That was 10, 11 months of my life that I hated every minute of it. I was like, I said, can I go back to Japan? He goes, yeah, you just can't go to TNA for 90 days or whatever. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that won't be a problem. So I was able to go back to Japan, because he said, I knew you were happy over there. So yeah, that was my whole experience. I got one TV match, and it was with Punk.
Was that Punk's debut match?
I don't know. I think his debut was Just Incredible.
It was early and like
at Hammerstein.
Yeah.
I worked Shannon Moore at the Hammerstein. And when I was in Canada a couple weeks ago, me and Shannon were actually talking about this match. to where Vince was on the headset screwing with us because he wanted me to be heel, Shannon to be baby at the Hammerstein Ballroom. I come out to a loud ovation as a heel. During the match, with Shannon being a baby, he gets his shine. It's time for me to get my heat. I remember rolling outside, Shannon coming up to me and saying, Vince wants me to be heel now, I'm sorry. And proceeded to kick my ass. And then the refs giving us cues. CW, now you're heel. Shannon, now you're heel. Like we had to switch back and forth in the match. And on one of the moves, I was shooting Shannon off for a cross-body spot. The ref goes, Vince says go home now, Spinebuster, CW, you're up. Shannon comes off for a cross-body. I catch him awkwardly, Spinebuster him awkwardly. I hook him, ref goes 1, 2, Shannon kicks out, ref counts 3.
Oh, no.
It was the drizzling hits. And it was all Vince screwing with us on the headset in the back.
Those New York crowds were the closest that they came to the original ECW crowd.
Yeah, it was a miserable. Me and Shannon were talking about it a couple weeks ago in Canada.
Now, do you think there was a way that ECW could have worked on the relaunch with the WWE being involved?
If Vince would have kept his hands out of it, yes. If he'd have let Paul and Tommy run it like they wanted to in the beginning, it would have worked. Keep us in smaller venues like we were the whole time. We weren't large arenas like WWE or WCW. We were smaller arenas. That's what we should have done. We should have been our own separate entity. I mean, you still own it, but just keep us off to ourselves. Let us work the small houses. Keep most of us originals there. Bring over the ones you want us to. Let Paul and Tommy run it how they want, and it would have been fine. But
what do you think it was? You think he had to be involved?
yes, Vince has to be involved in everything. My hearing from people talking about him, the few interactions I've had with him, and just this whole experience with ECW, he had to be involved because he had to kill that promotion. I even heard one of the longest reigning cruiserweight champions from there is a close friend of mine who went on to have a thriving career at WWE. In his words, before we ever started, he goes, I hope Vince don't try to kill y'all and bury y'all to squash y'all's ECW name because y'all are getting so much traction. That was his exact words. And he was 100% right.
Well, he tried it. He definitely didn't kill it. Like,
he
the legacy.
killed that part of it.
The 2.0, yeah.
Yeah, the 2.0.